Hello and welcome to Glasgow Rangers Nation with me, your host, Owen, the channel that brings you your team every single day, the channel that keeps you up to date with all the latest goings on at Ibrox. So the hunt for a manager continues. I would say at pace. It seems to be going quite slowly, but I think, that's a good thing. They're not rushing into anything, that they are taking their time to hopefully make the right decision of what is an absolutely vital appointment. But news today that is, well, it's mixed news. And look, I know whenever the media say anything, you must take it with a pinch of salt, because Rangers are the best way to get clickbait. It's the best way to get people to click on your story, say something about Rangers, and the thousands, hundreds of thousands and millions of fans around the world will click and will read. But TalkSport today announced that Rangers have included former Derby, Chelsea and Everton manager Frank Lampard on a shortlist of possible candidates for the job. It seems that there are, well, according to a number of other media sources, Kevin Muscat, Philippe Clement, Frank Lampard are all on this shortlist. Now, look, I'm going to be absolutely 110% clear on this. Frank Lampard, been appointed manager of Rangers, would be an absolute disaster for this club. It would leave us, I feel, in the same position that we are now in 12 months' time, or even less, discussing who the next manager is going to be, discussing why we are out of the league campaign again, and why we look disjointed, and why our performances are poor, and why we seem to have a very, poor style of play again, because that's what Frank Lampard brings. Look, there is a positive to him. The positive is he gives young players a chance, which some of you may want. Leon King, Alex Lowry coming back, Zach Lovelace, Bailey Rice, and he will often leave out more experienced players for these younger players, which is something I know that we all want. That the core of this team, the serial losers like Tav and Barisic and Goldson, Lundstrom, need to never play again, or have a very limited part to play for this club, given how many times they've failed us and they've failed the managers. But mark my words, Frank Lampard would be an utter, absolute disaster for this club. If you look at his managerial career, he took over Derby when they were sixth in the Championship. He had a very talented squad with the likes of Mason Mount and Tamori, and he took them from sixth and he finished sixth. Yes, he got to the playoff final, but something he has a bit of a history of in finals, which is losing. He lost the playoff final 2-1 to Aston Villa. He then obviously left Derby and went to Chelsea. Now, under his first season at Chelsea, there was difficult circumstances. He had a transfer embargo in place. The squad finished fourth and lost an FA Cup final. Again, another cup final gets lost, and they finished fourth. And it's look, the English Premier League is a difficult league. It is very much dominated by the fact that Manchester City and Liverpool are very much the power teams in England at the moment. The second season, when players were bought, Frank says players bought that he didn't want, but still very talented players. He was then sacked after a poor run of form. Thomas Tuchel took the same squad that Lampard was struggling with and won the Champions League with them. Interesting. Lampard then went to Everton, where, if he hadn't been sacked, he may well have taken Everton down for the first time in their history. And you look back at his Everton team, and you look back at the way his Everton team played. It was disjointed, it was poor, it lacked a style, it lacked a substance, it lacked a flow, it lacked an identity. Is that ringing any bells with anybody? Does that remind anybody of anybody in particular who we all said had to go because we had no identity, no style, no form, no shape, no tactics? Maybe, possibly, perhaps. I don't know. There we go. But look, I'm going to be absolutely honest with you. Frank Lampard would be a manager who is appointed because of two things. Number one, because of his record as a player. And I've got no doubt in my mind, Frank Lampard was a phenomenal player. Played for England, won the Champions League, won the EPL, won the FA Cup, won the League Cup. He was a quality midfielder, scored goals, played exceptionally well. So yes, look, he is a very talented player, and to me, that's the reason he gets jobs as a manager and he gets interviews as a manager, because of his playing career, which for me is wrong, because you shouldn't be getting it based on that. You should be getting it based on what you've done as a manager. And as a manager, he's won nothing. His teams have not looked great. He's left teams in a worse state, Everton, than when he took them over. Derby, another one now, who are back in League One. Add to that as well, the other reason I think he would get promoted, get his a chance to be Rangers manager, would be a purely financial and marketing decision by the board, very much on the similar lines of when we appointed Steven Gerrard. Now, before anybody says, but is this the same as Gerrard? Well, it's not the same as Gerrard. This was when Gerrard took over Rangers, it was his first job. He was a very highly thought of coach at that point, and obviously Gerrard came in and won 55. Lampard is not a very highly thought of coach, has had managerial posts in the past and has failed in all those areas. If the board appoint Frank Lampard, it is purely from a financial and marketing point. It is not from the point to make this team succeed or this team to do well. It is purely to generate income. And the one thing that seems to worry me and concern me at the moment as regards James Bisgrove and John Bennett is there seems to be an awful lot of style, but very little substance to what they're actually doing at the moment. Yes, Edmiston House is wonderful. Yes, the sports bars are great. Yes, this is fantastic. But it's all fur coat and no knickers. It is all mouth and no trousers. At the end of the day, what is more important is what we produce on the pitch. Yes, I know you need other revenue streams. I understand that. But it seems to me that to the board at the moment, the marketing and financial side of it is far more important than anything to do with the playing side. And that's what worries me as regards Frank Lampard. They may take a decision and appoint this man purely based on the fact that he would be good for marketing purposes and not actually good for what he would be hired for, which is coaching the team and winning trophies. If Lampard comes in this season, I honestly think we will not finish in the top two. He is that poor. He is genuinely that poor. To appoint Frank Lampard would be a step back from Michael Beale. And that is saying something. If you're going to the game on Sunday, if you are going to St Mirren to Paisley on Sunday, then I would urge you to protest and to let the board know that we will not accept Frank Lampard as our manager. We do not want Frank Lampard as our manager. We do not want this man anywhere near our club. It is our club. It's not their club. As fans, it is part of our heritage, part of our blood, part of our reason for being. And if you appoint a manager like this, you are further going to destroy this great club of ours and basically hand the league over for 2 seasons to that lot from across the city and allow them to catch us up and eventually pass us in terms of trophy wins, because under Frank Lampard, we will win absolutely jack shit. Well, guys, let me know what you think in the comments down below. Personally, I will be absolutely mortified if this man is allowed into my club, to our club. He is an awful manager, amazing footballer, brilliant player, fantastic as a footballer. And as a footballer, I thought he was great, loved him as a player. As a manager, cannot stand him. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. As always, guys, if you've enjoyed the content, please hit the sub, ring the notification bell. And as always, 2 things I need you to do for me. Number 1, smash the like. And number 2, remember always, we are the people.